Zafar Bangash. Zafar Bangash Urdu, Zafar Bangash is a noted Islamic movement journalist and commentator in Toronto, Canada. Bangash is director of the Institute of Contemporary Islamic Thought ICIT and president of the Islamic Society of York Region, a suburb of Toronto. He is Imam at the Islamic Society of York Region's Mosque and Community Centre in Richmond Hill, Ontario. He is a former editor of Crescent International newsmagazine and a trustee and formerly assistant director of the Muslim Institute, London, where he worked with Dr Kalim Siddiqui 1931–1996, the founder of the Muslim Institute and leader of the Muslim Parliament of Great Britain. Bangash is also co-founder of the Muslim Unity Group. He is best known for his commentaries, current affairs while editor of Crescent International. Though he stepped down as editor since joining the ICIT, he continues as a columnist and contributor to Crescent. Activities. In 2007, as a spokesperson for the Muslim Unity Group in Toronto, Bangash appeared with other Muslim leaders at a Toronto press conference calling for the Ontario government and Toronto District School Board to address the problem of increased harassment of Muslims and racial minorities since. He was the keynote speaker at a 2007 Marxist conference in Toronto, prompting Bangash critic Terk Fatah of the Liberal Muslim Canadian Congress to comment, for atheists considered worthy of the death penalty by Islamists to team up with their ultimate opponents in attacking Canadian civic society demonstrates the fundamental bankruptcy. Bangash justified his collaboration with secular leftists, saying the issues of justice, inequality and poverty are common themes we can work together on. They are concerns of conscience. Bangash was the focus of controversy when his association with a planned mosque in Newmarket, Ontario was used as a rallying point by opponents attempting to convince the municipality. A group called Concerned Citizens Against Terror for Citizens of Newmarket, led by Ron Banerjee of the Canadian Hindu Advocacy and Mayor Weinstein of the Jewish Defense League, organized protests and a public meeting against them. Banerjee claimed that Bangash himself posed a clear and present danger to the safety and security of the country. The protest group was accused by one community member of not being members of the community and coming in from outside for the purpose of stirring the pot. Mosque leaders have said that while Bangash is president of the Islamic Society of York Region, to which the new mosque belongs, he is not the mosque's imam and has no direct involvement with the facility. In June 2007, the Canadian Arab Federation CAF honored Bangash at a gala dinner for his unwavering support of Palestine. CAF President Khaled Momer also defended Bangash, stating that he is a man of dignity and that he has no blood on his hands like those Israeli war criminals who come to Canada and are received by our politicians, like Ariel Sharon. On 14 February 2010, at a conference entitled Media War on Islam, Bangash stated the Israeli-owned international consultants on targeted security runs security at Amsterdam Airport, and therefore the Israelis are in control of security and thus allowed Umar Farouk Abdel-Mutalab to board a Detroit-bound plane with concealed explosives. Views. Support for the Iranian government. United States. Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In an article published in 2001, Bangash rejected the idea of a two-state solution or a power-sharing arrangement between Jews and Palestinians. He referred to Israelis as thieves and bandits from Europe and America, and should go back where they came from, the US, Canada, Europe, Russia, or whoever is willing to take them in. Bangash has also stated that Zionist thugs will have to vacate every inch of Palestine if there is to be justice and therefore peace in that tortured land. At the Toronto Peace and Justice Conference in March 2006, Bangash gave a speech in which he stated that for the State of Israel, peace would mean when all the Palestinians have been put into the graveyard, 6 feet down. On the question of suicide bombing, Bangash told the Vancouver Sun that he opposes the targeting of innocent civilians. He argues that suicide bombing is an act of desperation by a people who do not have the tanks, aircraft, and advanced weaponry. It's the Israelis who have them. They are using them, and people under occupation have the right under international law to resist their occupiers. He also claimed that suicide bombers usually attack military targets. Canada, Ontario's Hate-Mongering Misfits by Alan Simons, The Jewish Chronicle, 4 September 2011. In the same speech, Bangash expressed his vision that Israel will cease to exist and will be replaced by an Islamic regime, stating that, Allah willing, I see that day when we, the Muslims, will march on Palestine and liberate Palestine for all the people in the world, for the Jewish people, for the Christian people, and for the Muslim people. They will all be living as equal citizens. At an Al-Quds Day rally held in August 2013, Bangash stated that Queen's Park has become a Zionist-occupied territory, and that charged that Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Ontario Premier Kathleen. Bangash also called for the rally's participants to continue to speak for the Palestinians under oppression until all of Palestine is liberated from Zionist occupation, and predicted that Zionism will be eternally shamed. 2006 Israel-Lebanon War. Bangash was active in protests against the 2006 Israel-Lebanon war, and at one point elicited cheers when he announced the number of Israeli soldiers killed by Hezbollah forces during the conflict. Criticism of Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Bangash has criticized the Taliban and Osama bin Laden by saying their strategy was the most stupid approach to take because you cannot convince the U.S. by attacking the U.S. You cannot force the U.S. to change its policies. You have to change your own situation in Muslim countries. He has also criticized bin Laden's call for jihad against the West, saying an individual cannot issue a jihad. Canadian intervention in Afghanistan. Bangash has spoken at rallies which oppose Canada's role in the invasion of Afghanistan and call for a national referendum on Canada's continued participation in the war. Relationship with non-Muslims. Bangash told the Toronto Star that when his Richmond Hill Mosque opened, he and his congregation went out of our way to contact the neighbors, contact the churches, Jewish groups, all kinds of people. We have invited to this center United Church ministers to come and speak, Mennonite pastors to come and speak. In 2005, the mosque held a service in which every member of the congregation was asked to bring someone who was non-Muslim. Speaking to reporter Michael Valpy, Bangash said that the mosque was packed and that the congregation was thrilled by the result. Following the 9/11 attacks, a Mennonite pastor, Gordon Elton, contacted the mosque. Bangash, in his words, stretched the rules of Islam to the limit and asked Elton to preach at the mosque. I think never in history had that been done before, Bangash said, but I felt we needed to return his gesture. Peter Leibovich, who is Jewish and a longtime friend of Bangash, has defended him against his critics, saying we live in a free society and have the right to different positions, adding that many in the Jewish community don't support decisions made by the Israeli government. And a lot of Jews are not happy with U.S. President George Bush's new militarism. Zafar Bangash doesn't agree with American foreign policy, nor do millions of Canadians. I didn't know it's a crime not to agree with George Bush. 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 Books and booklets. Booklets. The Makkah Massacre and Future of the Haramain, 1988. In Pursuit of the Power of Islam. Major Writings of Kalim Siddiqui, 1996. The Sirah, A Power Perspective, Papers 2000. The Concepts of Leader and Leadership in Islam, 2001. Power Manifestations of the Surah, Examining the Letters and Treaties of the Messenger of Allah, 2011. The Covenant of Madinah and the Inclusivist Islamic State, 2011. Imam Khomeini and Centrality of Leadership in the Islamic Movement, 2011. The Doomed Kingdom of the House of Saud, 2015.